So tell me, you were in the parade today,
Mm-hmm.
and you're supporting AOC. Tell me why you came out to the parade today.
Well, I think the Queen's parade is the best parade of all of them, and it's definitely the original one where it's inclusive, and we're very interested in including everybody. Yeah, we love AOC. We wish she was in our district, or we wish we were in her district, but we're not.
So you actually weren't able to vote for her yourself. You live outside of her district.
That's correct.
Correct.
We're just a little bit outside of our district.
Okay. But you still are volunteering to support her.
Yeah, we agree with her policies. Her ideas are very progressive. Probably the most important thing is the climate, because if we don't have a planet, or if it's unsustainable to live here, if there's no food, if there's no water, then we're all screwed. And I mean, it's ridiculous that people aren't talking more about it. It's ridiculous that Biden didn't talk about it. I think it's the most important issue that there is. And if you want to talk about the economy, then you got to talk about Green New Deal and the jobs that that would bring, because you can't keep piling stuff on a system that doesn't work. Eventually, it's going to crumble. I think it's already crumbling. Yeah.
You mean capitalism?
Yeah. Well, capitalism. Yeah.
We volunteered for her before, the last time she ran, and we used to put up posters in businesses, and we did quite well when we did it, and people were somewhat very supportive, responsive, and we figured we'd try it again. So between now and, let's say, the primary, which is in June, we're going to help volunteer if we can, and then we know she's going to get on the ballot, but then
But you never know.
You never know, yeah. And then we will probably help volunteer before the main election in November. You know, and
So aside from environmental issues, that you're talking about support for the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
women's rights, of course, especially what's been going down in certain states, where the Supreme Court has to vote for the right for a woman to choose.
And I love how smart she is and how she doesn't take crap from people, you know?
Yeah.
I love her tenacity, and she's just so clever, you know? Like,
Yeah, we've met her a few times, and she's very intelligent, knows what she's talking about, and too many people make fun of her because she, the way she talks, or that she's just even a woman, and they think, well, she's too young, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and I think they're totally wrong.
yeah, that's because she's smarter than them and they're intimidated.
What do you think so it's been a couple of years now?
Yeah.
More than that. What do you feel that she has accomplished in office?
Well, I think the Green New Deal, parts of it have been accomplished to a certain degree. I mean, Joe Biden did give in more than I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's impressive. And I think there should be more progressive, liberal Democrats, younger ones, going to try to get elected. Because the old school is too old, and they get stuck in a certain, what would you call that, a certain mold of feeling.
Stuck in their way, and they're not, like, Biden's so not aggressive. We have the power. He should just do some stuff. I mean, we're going to end up with Trump again if he doesn't get some stuff done. And then they're going to just say that he didn't get anything done, but everybody's fighting.
And I wish more Democrats were on the same page. But right now, Democrats and Republicans are so far apart from each other, nothing gets done.
But then look at Cuomo. Cuomo was a Democrat, and he's as Republican as it gets.
Yeah, he screwed the Democrats.
Yeah.
Cuomo. But then there's bad seed in everyone, and good. are the low rent for the average person who doesn't make that much money, especially in a city like New York. In other words, if I'm making $20,000 a year, I can't afford to live here. And that's more important. That's very important. There should be more rent-stabilized buildings, more affordable. Right now in Queens alone, they're building so many high-rises and apartments, and the costs are just too high.
They do all those the tax abatement deals, so that they can build these huge, gigantic things that only really affluent people can live in. And there's so many people. I mean, if you're making $15 an hour, you can't afford any of that.
And we live in Elmhurst, and we've been hearing and seeing that we've got like a lot of families living in small apartments, or just like 6 people, 7 people living in a room, and that's all over the.
In our building, there's people who have a mother and a father and 3 grown children living in a 1-bedroom. And when I say 1 bedroom, there's a bedroom, there's a living room, and a kitchen. So it's a 3-room apartment. And like how, and there are grown kids, but you can't afford to get an apartment. And at one point I was looking for a room to rent, and a broker, so I would have had to pay him a broker fee, was showing me a room in an apartment building that had 5 rooms that were all rented out to families, and there was 1 bathroom, and I was just like, this is a fire trap, And then look, people drowned in basement apartments because they're illegal. The city is completely unaffordable, and you don't get much. I mean, it's starting to look like the 70s and 80s again, with like the garbage and the violence and
Yeah, that was when we had a few months ago with the floods in Queens, and the basement apartments got flooded. Then we started to realize that basements, apartments, well, a lot of them were illegal, and there was probably a lot of people living in those. And then that's how we found out. You've got the high rent and the climate change, and they're together. And you're only going to notice if they both coincide. You have to have a tragedy to find out that something else is wrong that's going on.
So how would you want to see that addressed by policy, especially at the federal level?
I don't like the idea of them making the basement apartments legal. I know Blasio was trying to make those illegal basement apartments up to code and stuff, but the basic fact is that it's not. You're not going to have a big enough window to escape in the bedroom. I've lived in basements, and you're right by the boiler, so if that boiler blows up, you're dead. So even if you have cinder blocks, it's still not a good situation. I would like to see all those empty apartment buildings taken over and made into housing. I would like to stop paying the hotels for people to live in, families to live in a hotel, and instead build stuff. The amount of money that we're wasting, and giving tax abatements to builders. I mean, if I were on the city council, and I know it's not that simple, but if I were on the city council, I'd be like, you want to build something, I'd be like, you want to build something right now in this economy with our situation of overcrowding now, you need to make 50% affordable housing, and not 130 the area medium income. I'd be like, you have to make 50% affordable if you want to build anything. If you want any kind of building permit, that's what you have to do.
We live in Elmhurst, and we've got at least 4 or 5 motels that are used to home the families that are on public assistance or don't have much income. And the landlords are getting anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month for a room in a motel.
They could have an apartment. You want to pay rent, give them an apartment. Give them something that they can have. If you want people to be happy and functioning, you let them function, and nobody wants people to function.
All right, let's get
the whole shelter system is horrible.
And you think it's not less expensive than it would be to simply give people subsidized housing?
Well, they do that with Section 8 has
Yeah.
houses. and the government helps pay for them. I think it's a much they can do that with houses, or even apartments. I mean, what was I going to say? In other words, if the federal government, which does give money to the state or the city for housing for homeless, what does the state and city really do with it? Do they use it the right way? And it's you want to get the most for your money, and it seems they're getting the least for too much money.
Yeah.
So are you kind of saying that you're relatively satisfied with the way the housing is managed at the federal level, but it's local?
I don't
policy
even.
that needs to
I don't
change?
think the federal level does much about housing. They might give money to local governments to help, but for instance, the federal federal housing, the projects. What is it called? Where the federal takes care of it.
HPA?
Yeah, in Woodside housing.
Yeah.
They take care of it, and then you find out elevators don't work. There's no heat, so the federal might take care of it, but they don't take care of it properly. You see, I mean, it's like, oh, I'm going to go to landlord court, and who's your landlord? Oh, the city. So it's like, and so you got the federal government. They're getting the money, they're giving the money, and you don't want someone in a public housing to have to climb up 5, 6, 7, 12 flights of stairs, and when the elevator is always breaking. In fact, when we had the flood, Woodside housing got flooded.
Yeah.
And so their boiler went out, but it took forever for them to get heat for the winter. And that's another thing, if you're in the middle of the winter and things get bad and it gets cold, then you find out how bad things are again.
And there are fires all the time. Like anytime
yes.
I hear sirens, I'm always afraid it's going to be our building because, first of all, there's the overcrowding, and second of all, people don't have heat. Like we don't have heat. You have to call the landlord all the time. You have to call the city. You have to make all these complaints in order to get heat. Like they screw around a little bit with it. Like they let it get really cold before they actually put it on, and then people go about keeping the apartments warm their own way, and a lot of times that's hazardous. And then when that happens, the landlords don't get in any kind of trouble, which is ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you this, the landlords are lucky it's getting warmer.
The global
And
warming, yeah.
they don't have to put up the heat. Now, because
Yeah, it comes up later and
here's the
later.
thing, you got the landlords can say, well, the price of the oil, now it's really going up. So you've got that. So how do you have to compensate at least the small landlord, not these corporations that have our landlord has 50 buildings, houses and apartment
And
buildings.
it's an LLC, so it's not really any person.
Yeah, we can't get a hold of a real landlord that says, oh, I own that. It's a corporation, and it's.
Everything's becoming like that, though. Like you can't get in touch with anybody. You can't
Technology.
Yeah, I haven't gotten my refund for the 2019 or the 2020 federal taxes yet.
Yeah, they're behind.
Because I couldn't file because I don't have a computer.
But
So, and the libraries were closed and they stopped doing, the food bank didn't do it because there was a pandemic. So I still don't have, but now I have to pay for my unemployment. I have to pay what I owe in taxes. But they have my money for 2 years now.
Yeah.
They want me to pay?
in other words,
I quit.
the federal government is giving back tax refunds really late.
Really late.
It used to be you could file in January and within 2 months or less you'd get your money. But there's something wrong with the system. It's backed up, and they don't know what they're doing.
Okay, so have you tried contacting AOC about this problem?
She's not in our district, but
Yeah.
Right,
well,
right.
We could contact her, but we can still talk to her about it.
yeah.
Or your representative?
Yeah,
Have
Grace
you tried
Meng.
going through
Grace-
the government channels?
Grace Meng's got an answering machine that's full.
Oh, she
I do
tried.
like her, but she's got an answering machine that's full.
So what we do is we try to do things on a local level, like with the council, because they seem to get things done more than senators or congresspeople, because they're really in there and they're local. Without them, the city wouldn't be doing anything good. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry. The council members vote. They tell the mayor what to do.
Well, the mayor can be,
Yes, but they have a lot of what's the power or
They have a bit of sway.
Yeah, they have
a
some
little
sway.
bit more sway, and they're progressive.
You were talking about the high price of energy right now,
Yes.
of oil and gas. So a lot of people who are opposed to the Green New Deal are pointing to that and saying, they're saying that we pulled back on our domestic energy production, domestic oil and gas, that we were energy independent, and then we started shutting some of that down and not going through with new pipelines and production. And as a result, we've had to buy more foreign oil and gas.
I mean, from Russia.
Including from Russia. And that's it's bad for us because we're not independent, and it's bad for us because it's become more expensive. We're paying for the war that Russia is now waging, and we haven't been able to replace what we stopped producing in fossil fuels with green renewables.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Which
so
is
what do you think about that whole argument, that whole situation?
So a lot of times they had a couple of projects for doing the wind turbines, and people said it would destroy the view of the water, or it would destroy, or the vibrations and the animals. Like, they come up with every kind of excuse not to get it done. But if we had it done, and if we had more solar panels, we wouldn't be relying on dirty tar sand oil, which we're not even getting anyway. It goes. If we would commit to doing that, and also people, like what Jimmy Carter said 40 years ago, you got to put a sweater on. You can't have as much as you have to conserve what we have. Otherwise we're not sustainable.
Yeah, I remember when Jimmy Carter was president, or when he was running, if he mentioned the climate, and you have to conserve.
Yeah.
Americans never want to hear the word, oh, you've got to conserve. Americans love to spend, and they want more, and they want more. Now, Susan here might think differently than me. I think you can do both. But as he said, we've been so far behind with the solar panels and the, for instance, you know who makes most of the solar panels in the world? China. Why didn't we start doing it? The reason we didn't start doing it, because all the jobs went overseas, all the companies went overseas, or down to South America or Mexico. Well, that's another topic, corporations. The money they save and the jobs that Americans have lost, that hurt the economy, but it also hurt something like the Green Deal. They say there was going to be a lot of new jobs. But you could start doing it, and then you could use both. It's not impossible. I don't want to totally give up fossil fuel. Thank you. What's the other thing? For instance, you can have electric cars. You don't think the car companies are not making them? They know what the future's going to be. They'll make money.
What if it's an electric car and you plug it in, and somewhere down the line there's a nuclear power plant that's fueling that?
Well, I hope the Russians don't blow it up.
Are you opposed to nuclear power?
Yeah.
Why?
I just think it's dangerous. I just think one power plant imploding, or even like the waste from it.
Well, the one that happened a few years in Japan, what that did. And then we had, years ago, 3 Mile Island. And then there was Russia, and people that went through that are still feeling the impact. If you want to, even the dropping of the 2 bombs back in the Second World War, generations are still being affected by that. Grandchildren, they got birth defects. In other words, what do you do with all the nuclear waste?
People are worried about a vaccine, about a vaccine side effect, but what do you think the side effects of breathing in all the pollution from the cars and stuff? What do you think what do you think all those chemicals that are growing our food? I agree that there's a huge amount of population, but I think the problem is distribution, not having to. Thank you. She is. She's tearing the buildings down.
You get that a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to get petitions signed. I hate the one. And this is Democrats saying.
Yeah.
Where are you hearing that?
We were hearing it
in the Woodside.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
all, but you know.
And
That she's destroying Astoria.
how?
He's from Astoria. We should have
But
asked.
how?
We should have interviewed
Well,
him.
Hey, it's going too fast.
Yes.
You know what she did do was she stood with and Checker did it and Catalina Cruz. They all they got the unions for the delivery workers and they got them to right to go into the bathroom. They had the taxis, the buyback for the medallions, the buyout for the medallions. So I mean there's a lot of stuff in New York City that's happening that's so much better than in the rest of the country. I feel like there's, especially since the pandemic, there's so many mutual aid societies, and there's Elmhurst has a fridge. There's so many fridges, and the free books. Are you from? Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes we're over the plane route too, so you have them both. Are you from Woodside?
Not now, but I have been in the past.
Yeah, they have on right by the park. What is
Sunnyside
that?
Garden.
Yeah, but what's the name of that park?
Veterans.
No, is that what it is?
Doughboy.
No, further up.
Oh.
They have like in Sunnyside Gardens. There's a park where they have a farmers market, but they also have like a free library that's out there all the time. It's great.
Yeah, Skillman Avenue and 43rd
Yeah,
Street.
43rd. Yeah, so you can bring your books there and you can take books. And it's amazing to just be able to take out a book and take as long as you want to read it and then just, not have to have it in your house. And that's like an example of they have media too. The libraries were closed.
And as the passerby said, AOC is destroying Astoria, but we live in Jackson Heights, Elmhurst area, and no one ever says that.
Yeah.
No one says that in
No.
Jackson.
Everybody loves
That's where she has one of her main offices, right in Jackson Heights.
I
And
don't think she has that office anymore.
oh no, she moves. Oh,
So, what is this the first year you've been going? You've been going door to door.
No, we didn't do door to door because you had to have contact tracing, and I don't have that kind of phone. You had to, because of the pandemic, you had to have an app on your phone, and I don't have that kind of phone. To do because of COVID, you had to do contact tracing. So like if you went up to a door and like talked to somebody, you had to then I don't even know what the app was.
Huh.
I'm not very smart.
So if they found out later
that somebody had COVID, then you could come in contact. Yeah.
What we do is we try to get signatures, and the last time we were really into the AOC movement, we put a lot of posters and talked to a lot of retail people that have businesses,
Right. So that was it. The last.
That was the 20.
When she first ran?
That was the 20.
I mean, she keeps on running because they keep on changing
You've been
everything.
involved in it from the beginning. Is what you're saying.
No.
Just
Because
the
we
last
weren't in her district.
go around.
Yeah, I was impressed what she did with Crowley, because he sucked. So does his cousin. But yeah, we just the last go around.
Okay. So do you think that the response that you're hearing now is different than the last election cycle?
It might be, only because she's been around only a few years, and the people take the bad press that she gets and think it's real, then people may change their opinion,
And I think politics have gotten even more polarized than they used to be.
Yeah, I mean, we put aside a vaccine or this.
which is ridiculous.
And as I say, the sides are too far apart. You know, I mean, I don't expect every politician being on the same page, but even the Democrats don't get along. If the Democrats don't get along with the Democrats, the Republicans are very happy. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in November 22 when we have the Senate and Congress elections again. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
You're seeing a lot of, like, from neighborhood to neighborhood, you're seeing a little difference in response, though?
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe people are just tired of politicians, or tired of they got other things to worry about right now, you know, jobs, health issues. Oh, for instance, we didn't bring it up, but we're both for universal health care. You know, the Medicare for all. I mean, well, I've got Medicare anyway. I'm 68.
Yeah, but this would be like real. They wouldn't.
Yes, I know. Everyone
There
would have
wouldn't
health
be
care.
an insurance company making money off of it.
Yes, the insurance companies do make money. Probably more than we think.
Well, we know
Yes,
because the
but
CEOs make
that,
$14 million.
CEOs that make millions of dollars, and it's for an insurance company.
And for an insurance company that, like, my doctors would tell me, oh, I know your insurance isn't going to cover this. Or, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this. Or, like, oh my God, who was it who said, like, your insurance takes so long to pay?
That's right. If people are on Medicare or Medicaid, doctors don't have to take it. But if they do, they complain about it a lot.
To the patient, like, I have no choice.
Yeah, and if you have Medicare for all, then they have to take it.
And then everybody has the same,
You know.
everybody ostensibly has the same coverage. I mean, if you want to get a facelift, you can go ahead and pay the extra stuff out of pocket. But basically, everybody's covered with their basic needs. And I feel the same way about housing. Like, it should all, everybody, there shouldn't be people living in the street. There shouldn't be people with kids going to school and they don't have a home. It's in the richest country, in the richest city.
Well, we have been told it's the greatest country in the world, and they want to make it great again. And if it's already the greatest, why do they want to make it great again?
And they say nobody's poor because everybody's got a phone or everybody's got a TV. But those aren't, that's not having enough food in your belly. That's not having, I know that we have really good food stamps here, but even still, if you have a big family, it doesn't last until the end. It doesn't last until the end of the month. There's a little bit of period at the end where you're like, you know, rice and beans or...
Yeah, we live in Elmhurst, and what they have in Elmhurst and Jackson Heights is long, long lines of food. They give out food pantries, or they give out food on the street. And this has been going on a long time now.
Well before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic, and then because of the pandemic, it got worse, and now it's still continuing.
And poor people aren't lazy because poor people that I know all work several jobs, you know? It's just that the rents are so high. Everything is so expensive.
That's right. They've got 2-3 jobs and they still can't get by. Not everybody, but a lot of people. It's, you know.
So how do you address that at a policy level, though? Like, what do you ask someone like AOC to do about that? Or somebody in the federal government?
Well, the federal minimum wage is ridiculous. What is
Nobody
it?
should be making $7
It's
an hour.
$7.25 an hour, federal minimum wage. At least in certain cities like New York. At least they raised the minimum wage in New York, San Francisco, Seattle, because those cities are very expensive to live in. Of course, some people go, well, if you think it's too expensive, just move.
Yeah, but how do you have the money to move if all your money goes to rent?
Exactly. You know.
Okay, but policies that she could do, I guess, make it. If I don't know if it's her, but somebody's got to help make the union stronger. And the idea that when you sign a contract to work, even for some place like Trader Joe's, when I signed my contract at Trader Joe's, I had to sign something that said that if we had any kind of labor dispute, an arbitrator would mediate it, and that I couldn't go any further than that. And I mean, like, it's a crappy job. You don't need. I'm already oppressed. You don't need to oppress me even more. Let me have some rights, you know? Yeah, people, there's so many people, and if everybody just, you know, gather together, there's more people who are poor than people who are rich. You know, there's more people who need protection than people who don't, than have it.
Well, we have to leave now, but that 1% I can't talk about. I'll be here for hours.
All right, let me ask you one last thing.
Okay. Yeah.
You're referring several times to how divided politics are right now, or how divided people are right now.
Right.
You know, people driving by heckling you or supporting AOC. Okay, so if you were going to make an appeal to people on the other side of that divide, people who voted for Trump, who hate AOC, is there some common ground, some kind of starting place for an appeal that you would make to them?
We definitely have more in common than we have that separates us. We all have the same basic needs, and if I get health care, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get health care. If I have food, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have food. If you legalize gay marriage, it doesn't make a regular marriage less legal. In fact, if anything, the heterosexual marriages divorce rate is outrageous, and what is it, gay men tend to stay together the longest. So like it's not giving everybody rights isn't going to take your rights away. And I think that people don't understand that. I think that we've all been told that it's like us against them, or even even within liberal people, the whole idea is that, oh, if you're not the intersectionality, like if you don't support this, or if you don't work on that, then this doesn't matter, or what's the most important thing. And it should be like, and everything. Black Lives Matter, and women's rights, and trans lives matter, and Medicare for all, and a sustainable planet, and food, and housing, and clothing, and delivery workers get to use the bathroom of the restaurant that they're delivering for. And yeah, it should be everything. And we all, like, everybody wants their kids to have a better life if they have kids. Everybody wants the planet to survive for that. That's having a ton of money isn't going to matter unless you have enough money to go to another planet. I mean, like, we all need this planet. Those coal jobs, I mean, even if they do come back, it's all automated. Everything's automated. If robots don't go out and buy flowers from the bodega, or, handmade pottery, or they don't need to have clothing, they don't buy food, they don't need any of that stuff. Like, we all, the truckers hauling this stuff, we should all be on the same page, you're getting a vaccine is in your best interest. I don't even understand that. Oh my God, I totally don't understand that, because it's mostly Republicans that aren't getting the vaccine that are all dying of COVID. So it's the whole idea that they think this is fake is ridiculous to me. And it's offensive because we were really hard hit. I mean, we're right by Elmhurst Hospital. Everybody I know, I work at the farmer's market, everybody I know had COVID. Every single one of us, back in March, April. 2020. And a lot of us have, long-term system. I haven't smelled anything since end of March 2020.
It's just starting to come back, the sense of smell.
No,
it comes and goes.
It comes I start smelling like garbage, and then I start I smell the tea, or I smell something, and then it goes again. And I if I said, if there's a siren, I'm worried that it's the house that, because we don't get enough heat, that the house is on fire. And like, I can't tell if it's, even when the smoke alarm is going off, I can't tell if it's smoke or if it's just a false alarm or the battery. I don't know any of that. I don't even know why I'm complaining about that. But it's so offensive that people have to die. Like, fucking their leader, Trump, had COVID. Why? And he got the vaccine.
I think their concern is that they are not confident that the vaccine is safe, and they don't feel that the government should require people to take a medical treatment.
Yes. And I think we all have the little spot. All of us of a certain age have the little round thing from having vaccines. I know I had to have vaccines to go into public schools.
I had to be vaccinated to go into school. I had to be vaccinated to come into the country. And listen, flu vaccine, I was anti-flu vaccine most of my life. I thought, I'll just fight it off, my immune system. Now that I'm 68, my doctor keeps on pushing me. You gotta get going up. I finally did get the regular flu shot. I've gotten the two COVID and the booster. So I'm fine. I was fortunate. She had the virus and I didn't get it off her. And
I thought for sure that like I was going to kill him because we live in the same teeny apartment. I was like, oh my God. But yeah.
So I never got it, and I never got the symptoms. Just because I never got it and I've been vaccinated, I don't go around telling people, I don't have to wear a mask. I don't have to make sure I'm okay, because I can still get it, and I don't want to give it to you or anyone else. As you say, I'd like both sides or all politicians to more or less get along and try to get something done. But look what happened when the vaccine first came down. It was like it took so long to get off your ass and do something. Now the thing is, they all complain, everything's made in China. We better start making stuff in this country. Do you realize that everything you get to fight the vaccine does come from China? Well, whose fault is that? Can't we make the same stuff?
Also, by now, I think it's proven that the vaccine is safe. I think.
Oh yeah, well.
Your arm might be a little sore, but there's a lot of things that make your arm sore. And the other thing is, like, the government is always telling you what to do, and always.
Right, they're always telling you what to do. In other words, well, the government shouldn't tell me that I should be taking a vaccine, or
well,
I
then
can't.
The government shouldn't be telling me that I have to carry a baby to term.
That's.
Do you think it could be a dangerous precedent, though, to allow the government to require people to take a medical treatment?
Didn't they require it when everyone got polio many years ago?
So you're saying no, you don't think it's a dangerous precedent?
It's not. Well, how many people have died from the vaccine?
We're almost at 1 million people in this country dead from COVID. So I think that you can do stuff where it's like a one-off, and it's not. I mean, like, isn't Roe v. Wade codified, and now it's not codified? So like, I don't think precedents really matter so much anymore. But then word it if you. I would have been for a mandate, but for the people who don't. So. Immune system, or who's leery of the government, to be forced to take it. But I think that there's a way to. I think that there should have been more penalties for people giving information that wasn't accurate. And I think that the media, for the most part, by playing that devil's advocate, allows points of view that maybe need to be fact checked to just run rampant without.
How do you determine what's accurate?
That is very difficult. But the medical, but so things are published like in Lancet or in JAMA, and then it turns out, oh well, this was a one-time study that it was skewed this way or stuff. But there's ways to like make sure that things are safe and effective. So as far as the vaccine is concerned, I think that it can be agreed that it is safe and that it is effective in your side effects. I understand people are afraid that there's long-term side effects, but there's long-term side effects to COVID. There's long-term side effects to so many things. But so how do you, truth is a hard thing. It's a very hard thing. But stuff that's been disproven, there's enough stuff that's been disproven that still gets told, and I think that's a good place to start. So when somebody's saying, oh, the election was stolen, they need to have somebody on that same program explaining every reason why that's not true.
So you're saying through debate.
Yes.
You're saying that accuracy is determined through debate, not through suppression of bad information.
If you try to suppress it, then they get conspiracy theory on. You know what I mean? So I think that then you just feel like people are so immature. You get they dig in harder. You know what I mean? So I don't think that that's a good thing. So yeah, I would say debate, and then but some people don't believe facts. How do you feel as a journalist? How do you feel?
As a journalist, I'm in favor of freedom of speech and freedom of the press.
That's why he can drive by and say AOC has destroyed Astoria, and he has the right to say that.
But you would want to know why he feels that way.
Yes.
And he would have to back it up. You can't just say, because I said so. Something like that. You got, as he said, facts are facts, but they couldn't be misconstrued or false. This thing with, the false media and all that, this is like...
Yeah, that's one thing. You don't say that the media is the enemy of the people.
Yeah, well, I found out any politician that wants to say that the media or the press is the enemy of the people, that means you don't want the people to have freedom of speech, do you? Or expression. You don't. Do you want us to start throwing books and newspapers on bonfires, and destroying them? Could happen. It's happened in the past in other countries.
They're banning books right now.
There you go.
Because it hurts people's feelings.
I can't get into it, but we've been lied to all my life about American history. So now, when you want to relive the so-called truth, nobody wants to hear it. No, that's not right. Because you don't want to we've had our history. They don't want to relive a different history. I mean,
there's people in the South who aren't even aware that the Confederacy lost the war until they go to because everything's celebrating the Confederate Army, right? So they're not even aware that
they lost.
That they lost.
Well, that's like saying, I don't know if I can say this correctly, that's like people saying, oh, the concentration camps never happened. There are probably people now that may believe slavery never happened. So let's forget about it, so it might happen again. And the funny thing is, things that are happening in other countries that you might not like can happen here. And just look back at your past in this country, things that have been good and things that have been wrong. Do you want to relive the things that have been bad all over again because you forgot about them? Or the powers that be said, you don't want to know about that. That's dangerous. I want to know the truth, even if it hurts.